Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, with Los Angeles Thieves confirming their role swap going into the Major 3 qualifiers. It seems a large part of the reason was that Kenny was not happy at all with what Envoy and Drazah were bringing to the table in terms of communication. Very much intriguing your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you are new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Really up to the channel, thank you very much indeed for doing that one. Firstly, this from Trey Zero Morris. Honestly, this guy with the sniper, he's absolutely out of control. Always a good time to watch him. Punches this first guy in the back, and then boom, no scopes the guy straight off the fountain. Unlucky sunshine. Better luck next year. We'll see you next week. This also from the Boston Breach Fund. They've closed a $20 million round of Series A financing, with also adding new strategic investors to the Octane family. This is the ownership group of the Boston Breach, so pretty cool stuff. This also though, so Jon Rahm has now become one of those kind of strategic investors, adding another traditional sports star to our stable, a new investor in Octane. This is actually really cool because if you guys remember last year, before going on to win the US Open, Jon Rahm was talking in a press conference about the fact that he was a big Optic Chicago fan, and that morning he'd basically watched their game, like what they played on Black Ops Cold War, whatever. So that was kind of crazy stuff to see that crossover. And this is kind of what he said at the time, that basically before he played his match, he was just enjoying watching the Call of Duty stuff. Now he's actually officially invested now in Boston Breach, so cool crossover. Crazy to see a lot of these massive sports stars getting involved in esports in one way or another. And obviously feels like the future of Boston Breach is pretty bright as well here in the league, as well as what Octane Esports are doing elsewhere. Let's talk about this then, as Chrome points out. Pro teams have been testing Berlin Control over these last few days. So this is something we discussed a while ago here on the channel, that look, the two control maps are just not going to cut it, right? Kavutu and Tuscan, it's getting very painful at this point. I believe Berlin Control seems viable. The pros actually seem to like it. The problem was that when initially, Control was in the game at the start of the year, the spawns on Berlin just don't make any sense, as in the offensive team basically just gets a free capture. I believe in the recent updates, they've changed those spawns so that defense now spawns in a position where they can actually contest that first point, and you don't just lose it for free every single time, which obviously made the map pretty broken. So hopefully we can go to a 3 control map situation. That reduces the advantage for the team that wins the coin toss, because they just get to choose which map is played, and also reduces the advantage for the team with a higher seed at the major, which also was a pretty big deal. Of course, it's good to get good at every single map, but look, if we can go from 4-4-2 to 4-4-3, that I guess is a good step in the right direction, but ideally, we still need another actual viable map for hardpoint and search and destroy. That's what I was kind of hoping, that during this mid-season break would be the perfect time for Sledgehammer to drop some new maps into the game. The pros get to test them out. With any luck, there's like a London Docks, a San Luis Dumont, I don't know, and then they're actually viable for the different maps, because it's very rare in COD history we've had, 4 competitive maps. Like I was, watching Natron and Merc and Natron and Bose's Road to 100 back in the Black Ops 3 days, and there used to be 7 search and destroy maps played in the rotation. They were able to take out Hunted and Evac, that was at least in the GB rotation. They were able to take out Hunted and Evac search and destroy and just play the base 5, which, what were they? Infection, I guess, Breach, Fringe, Stronghold, and Redwood. They were all fantastic. They were played on the CWL side, and they had so many to choose from that they even got rid of 2 maps that are pretty good, Hunted and Evac, I thought, all things considered. They weren't great, but you know what I mean. Today, we're very much strapped for maps, to be honest, and, hopefully a 3rd control will be a step here, but we just need something else, to be honest, for the other gamers, because it's going to get painful if nothing changed at all in the maps that outside of potentially this over these next few days and weeks. Wanted to talk about role changes real quick. You did mention this yesterday, but just to kind of confirm it once again, because Arcitys, I believe, followed up with this and said it on stream, that yes, it is the case that Arcitys is going to that flex, as in kind of, Cellium has already kind of seems like he's been the main ER for most of this year, to be perfectly honest, but in certain situations, Cell would be using an MP40. Now it's pretty much going to be on a map like Bacage, or whenever the team feels like they need a 3rd MP40, Arcitys is going to be the guy pulling it out and selling him effectively to the full-time main ER. It's kind of interesting stuff. So now you've got Arcitys in the flex position, you've got Illy in the flex position on the Optic side, kind of both the in-game leaders of the teams. Quite interesting how that's working out, to be honest. And also just because of what Los Angeles Thieves are trying to do, making one of their SMG players effectively the IGL in Kenny, which is going to be rather interesting. This is what they talk about last night. It's time for something new, Los Angeles Thieves. They do the 0 to 100 episode, really good episode, to be honest, like just breaking down what things went on at the major. But there were a few very interesting snippets here that I thought I'd share for you guys. Not only when they talked towards the end about the fact that yes, they're making a role change, Kenny's going to be moving into this full-time SMG, but also why they feel like this was necessary. Few clips came out of when Kenny seemed to get very frustrated at, Drazah in one example, when he felt like his communication wasn't quite there, and then after they went out to the tournament after getting reverse threat by Optics, saying that Dill and Drazah, like Envoy and Drazah, were, just not communicating anywhere near as much as they need to be, or just not being decisive enough, right? In key moments, just not doing enough, right? It's all on Kenny and Octane or whatever to make these calls. They just sit there and do nothing as SMGs, which you can't really afford to happen. One of the key reasons why they want to make this role switch.
With how our practice was going, it personally felt a lot on me because I was trying to take a pull at this end game leader and try to keep everybody on the same page and keep everybody in the right spots. I went Cliff. Me and Dill both got a kill. And how are we so delayed to the zone?
Well, I was off spawn because I died on the hold initially on the rock.
But how did you end up circle?
No, I wasn't circle. I went through back.
Bro, I literally watched you were circled. Also, I'm gonna say it again, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to be a dick because we obviously played good, we seen the close, but bro, y'all, Zach and Dill, y'all gotta man up, bro, and get and like take some initiative and call some plans, bro. Call some game plans, bro. All y'all say to us is that I'm behind them or I'm doing this. Like, why is it never like y'all gotta get some team calls going, bro? We need some initiative. I need y'all to be like, yo, follow me the up, like, come, let's go, like, bro.
What is
like
this time?
There's just like, there's so many times that
they don't know what
the P4 map, the P4 callouts, bro.
we were not
calling out a damn thing. A damn thing. We're giving a pinch. We're not calling. Well, since we have such a long break going into Major 3, our team talked about it, and I think the fans will be excited to hear. We're gonna try it with Zach moving to the flex role and me actually moving to the submachine gun role. So I'll be back as an SMG. I know people hate it. Some people love it, some people hate it. Some people say I can't run an SMG, but I know full and well that I'm very able to run an SMG at the highest levels.
I think I can run an AR, and I want to see me at my best as an AR, and Ken at his best as a sub, and see how we look.
With Ken switching to a sub, he's a lot more vocal. Dylan and Zach are phenomenal Call of Duty players, but as a sub duo, they're not as vocal as they needed to be in game to lead plays and respawn and stuff like that. Ken and I are much more vocal on the macro gameplay decision making and stuff like that, but you know, when you're in the mix and you're leading plays off spawns and stuff like that, you need to be, you know, really talkative. And Ken does a phenomenal job of that in game. He's usually the person that directs us in game, so I think that having him on a sub is going to be a lot easier because instead of trying to convey the plays that he wants to be made, he can just do them and then we'll follow, if that makes sense.
So firstly, let's talk about whether this is actually going to work, right? Kenny on the SMG used it back in the day. I think, well, he seems very confident that he can use it at a high level. It's been talked about by a lot of pros and commentators the last few years. He should give it a go because generally I think you can be more impactful on the SMG than you can on the AR. We'll see if it works out for him though, because as I said a couple of days ago, like if Envoy is the other SMG, you need kind of a hyper aggro SMG type player to compete with some of the best SMG duos in the game, and Kenny, if anything, is kind of going to have to be that guy. So he's carrying a lot of responsibility and a lot of weight now on his shoulders to make this work, but I feel like in general this should make somewhat more sense. I think Drazah is maybe slightly better suited to the flex position, that kind of second assault rifle role, and Kenny on the SMG. Then again though, having to speed up as a player is probably more difficult than slowing down, might take a little bit of time to adapt, and also the comm side of things is massively important, right? Can Kenny keep up what he's kind of doing, being the vocal IGL of the team, if anything, on an SMG role, when the other teams are kind of put that player in their flex position, at least some of the top dogs, Optic and FaZe. So I think in the short term, there's the potential that this takes the team in the right direction, but I still feel like the team has other problems outside of just this. I don't really feel like this role swap is going to deal with all their problems, right? They've talked about communication, the issues they've had there, the decisiveness issues they have in certain situations, like the lack of clutch factor in search and destroy, all these other problems. Maybe they just feel like there wasn't really good trade opportunities out there to actually make a team change. Therefore, they've thought, okay, let's just stick with how it is, try and make a role swap to turn things around. This might have some short-term benefits. I think it maybe makes slightly more sense if Kenny can step into this role and do it very well, which I think he definitely has the capability to do so, but I do think it's far from a guarantee that this team all of a sudden Kenny comes into the SMG role and just the team takes over and is just absolutely smoking people from start to finish. Like I just think there's probably other issues within this roster, like Octane's been underperforming, these type of things that aren't necessarily going to be fixed, and the comms issues of Envoy and Drazah, if they aren't communicating as well as Kenny thinks they should be, like that's not exactly going to go away if they change roles. So as Kenny says, he drops the smiley face, not an instant fix of our issues, but hoping it pans out the way we envisioned it. Excited though to see how things progress as time goes forward. There's also some discussion on it, right? Ake says 4 years late, but I'll take it, saying he should have been on this SMG for many years at this point, based on what he was doing back on Team Caliber in the World War II days, when he was the best SMG in the entire game. Like Akes is like, look, he preferred an AR for a few years, but everyone prefers an AR, right? It's just the easier role to play, but you know, being drastically more impactful to his team on the SMG might well be the decision maker that has kind of swayed them here, even as Ake says last season, for example, in Cold War, yes, IMO, if he used a 74U instead of a Krig, the team would have had more success. We'll see how it works. A lot of people have been waiting for SMG Kenny, MP40 Kenny, whatever, for many years at this point. Now we're finally going to get to see it. They've got a few weeks to adapt to make it work. Whether this is going to be the key to the team's turnaround, though, I'm not necessarily convinced just this change is going to do enough in the long term. And as he made very clear in that clip, the frustrations he had with the communication from, well, Envoy and Drazah especially, right? He had a few words to Drazah that we saw, and also right after their loss, kind of surprised if anything they put that in the video, but we absolutely snap it up and talk about it right here, saying that like, look, you know, Drazah, Dill, like, what are you talking about, right? There's no decisiveness, there's no, you know, you're not saying, okay, let's do this, let's do that, follow me up here. You're just basically just sitting back and waiting for us to call something, whereas you guys are the ones in the mix getting ready to go. So Kenny thought basically, fine, I'll do it myself, take over the SMG mantle, and you know, he can make the calls, and as Octane said, like, we can just follow Kenny around now, because Envoy and Drazah didn't really seem to do all that much, right? And it was a bit of a frustration for them, the team clearly. Drazah back on the flex, I think personally that makes more sense and might be where he's best suited as a player, but you know, this was actually the moment I just thought I'd bring up once again, because you guys might remember this, when I think this is what, stage 2 groups, first game of the stage or whatever, goes game 5 round 11, and this is a really classic moment where Los Angeles Thieves, it was a trade early on, Optic versus Thieves, it was game 5 round 11, of course, crucial situation, and Thieves effectively just sit on the A bomb site for the entire round, let Shotzzy make a play. Like, Shotzzy was the one being decisive here. He told the team, like, hey, let's do a flank, let's go through B, like, I'll wrap top fire, and he gets like 2 kills from the back, gets the third one as well, closes out the rounds. Like, that was just the difference there in decisiveness between the two rosters, and Thieves, after Envoy died, just sat back and did absolutely nothing. So this might be one of the examples that they're thinking about here. Like, I mean, look at these lads, they're just sitting in corners, just getting picked off. Like, it was pretty tragic to watch this, I suppose, especially from their perspective. I'm sure Jacob wasn't particularly happy with it, but it's moments like these where Thieves feel like they need a little bit more, and Kenny probably thinks on the SMG they can make that happen. But yeah, that's generally what the talk has been about, right? That Envoy and Drazah as that SMG duo aren't really doing all that much, and then Kenny in his own head thinks, okay, he has to take more charge over this, looking at the minimap too much, this type of stuff, that's affecting his own gameplay. Octane hasn't exactly been great anyway, so I feel like switching this up does change a few things around, right? It does change out what the potential is on the communication front and all these other things, but it's not clear that in the long term this is going to be a winner if Envoy and Drazah's comms still aren't where they need to be. Couple of things just to finish up the video. I thought this is kind of funny actually from Minnesota Rokkr. Not often this meme hits the timeline, but just because, like, look, they do this trials announcement, right, that they came out with, and I can't imagine what their DMs look like, right, from some of these guys trying to get involved in the trials. But even as Ake says, right, team coach, is it possible to make trades? That's not going to happen. Okay, challenger player trials and role swaps it is. That's the thing, right? You know, there's a lot of things going on with Minnesota right now, the player trials they're trying to do, which should work out pretty well. I think it's pretty exciting for the Call of Duty scene. That might be a possibility, but still, trades just don't seem to be a thing, right? It's possible that trades could happen at some point or another, but it's just so difficult to make a trade happen in the CDL world, because it feels like some team is always going to get some sort of additional advantage that the other team does not. We have heard over the last couple of months or so that these trades have been discussed, but seemingly they're not going to get involved. I believe Minnesota was probably the team that wanted to get involved in some trades, and that seemingly has not gone through to the point where they're now doing these trials, which might work out better for them anyway. And just as Doug says to finish off the video, best game, worst game, COD Ghost Modern Warfare 2019. For me, it's probably Black Ops 3. It was my best game, no doubt about it. And worst game that I actually played a lot of, because I've barely played this game at all, probably World War II. I was absolutely shocking at that game. But very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit the like button and tell us your YouTube gods this is a good video. Others like you should see it as well. And I've grown the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you much as always. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.